Now we are. Welcome to the podcast, round 2 this time.
Round 2, my man.
I apologize in advance. I'm a bit allergic. This is a new development, but allergenic. I am full of allergies.
What?
Whatever that means. I have allergies right now.
All right.
Yeah.
Cheers.
What you drinking?
Drinking a light, refreshing Corona.
How appropriate. I too am drinking a light,
Very
refreshing Corona.
You know what I found funny this week is how as soon as a race war lights off, nobody seems to really care about the coronavirus anymore.
Yeah, they were like half of them wearing masks, no social distancing by any
Yeah,
means.
and you don't see one newscaster being like, you know what? All these riders, none of them are social distancing.
Yeah, they didn't talk about that.
All right, so this week, turtles.
Turtles and tortoises.
And tortoises, all right.
Interesting creatures. Where do you want to start with these guys?
Let's start right off the top. So you have 300, from what I've found, you've got 356 of them in total, and only 7 of them are saltwater or like oceanic, turtles.
Yeah, like
I
marine
found that
turtles.
Super weird.
Well, yes and no, because if you think about it, there's so many little river turtles.
Yeah.
And there's got to be just more variations of those, I guess.
It could be that they all got trapped in their own little lake or their little canyon,
Yeah.
their own bog, and they all just got super specifically adapted to where they were. But I don't see why that wouldn't happen in the ocean too. Why wouldn't something just hang out in one little bay or one little cove or?
I see what you're saying. I don't know why there wouldn't be more species. Yeah.
Only 7. I mean, that's such a small percentage in comparison to the land turtles.
Maybe there was more.
To me.
Yeah, maybe there was more before.
Before what?
Before they died. Before the extinctions and stuff, because I know there used to be a lot more sea life hundreds of thousands of years ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I mean, there could have been more.
Definitely before people started hunting them, for sure.
I actually researched a little bit about one that was
a particular hunted turtle, or
specifically old turtles. How old do you want to go?
I want to go as old as we can.
Well, let's go to the beginning.
The beginning?
The way back. Okay. So scientists say that early reptiles, they thought that had big scale pads on their back, so that they thought that kind of developed and turned into what a turtle is today.
Okay.
Because that's kind of makes sense. It kind of looks like their scales on other reptiles.
So they did start on land, correct?
That's what they believe.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So they started on land, and they had basically similar to us. They had their rib cage, which surrounded their internal organs, and they had their spine. And then I saw that there's a few middle species that as they went along, the bones widened. So eventually you have to the point that they connected together and then formed their outer shell, basically.
Yeah.
So the shell is just an extension of the rib cage that we have, essentially.
But yeah, basically it's crazy how they went from thinking it was skin to all of a sudden realizing that it's widened ribs. Mm-hmm. They have a bunch of crazy. Apparently in 2015 they discovered a really, really old proto turtle that was kind of like a lizard turtle mix, but it had these wide ribs.
Yeah.
It was called Popokelis, which kind of means grandfather turtle, I believe. Okay. And it lived around 240 million years ago, but that was the first evidence they have of branching off towards that turtle evolution of those wider ribs.
Okay. So he was the land animal, and then he was one of the first that they found that his ribs were starting to widen up and turn into that.
Yeah. Is that Castron?
What's that?
Carapace. Yeah. That carapace on the bottom.
No. The carapace is on top, and you're putting
plastron. I mixed them together.
The two together. So
I see
the carapace is the upper portion, and the plastron is the bottom portion. Mm-hmm. And the individual, the little what would you call them? I wouldn't call them, not quite cubes, but the individual pieces, they're called scutes.
It's almost like a little plate, right? That kind of builds the shell. A scute? I didn't know that.
Scoot. Scute.
Scute. How do you spell scute?
S-C-U-T-E.
Oh. So it's just cute with an S.
Yeah.
Okay.
Essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like turtles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I got to
Well-
ask, man. Do you have a favorite? You got 356 to choose from. You know what? If you want to pick from a prehistoric one to make that even bigger number, that's up to you. Do you have a favorite?
I have a favorite. Yeah. Do you?
I got it.
Do you? Okay. Mine is obviously the Galapagos giant tortoise.
Oh.
They're just so funny. They're hilarious, and they're just so cute. They're enormous.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't seem like that would be a creature that's still alive in our modern world, but somehow it is.
Yeah.
What's yours?
Yeah, it's gotta be the leatherback. The leatherback turtle is definitely by far the most badass.
The monster.
Okay. So right off the top, I feel like I did this the last time too. It's the biggest one.
You just pick the biggest animal. This is the
I just
best.
search up the biggest one and call it my favorite.
Biggest is best.
But look, it's the biggest by a large margin. There's reports of some as big as 10 feet long, but I think those are kind of bunk. But for sure, they get to at least 1,500 pounds.
I've seen some can get to 2,000. They've found.
Yeah, that's my little car weighs barely more than that. But the insane thing about it is, so they're one of the few that doesn't have like a hard outer shell, hence the name leatherback. It's like a fleshy, leathery outer coating. They have like 7 lines that goes down the length of the carapace that gives them kind of like their distinctive look.
Yeah.
But also they're one of the farthest traveling, so they exist in the tropics and the subtropics, but also they go as far as like Alaska on our coast and Nova Scotia on the east coast. They can take gnarly cold weather.
That's pretty crazy. You don't see many like sea turtles up in the cold water by any means.
I had no idea. I always pictured that they were all like entirely tropical.
That's what
creatures,
I figured.
But apparently they go up there and there's a lot of jellyfish for them to be hunting up there, so that's part of the reason that they do it. But the reason they're able to is because they're so large that they have a relatively low like surface area, which helps them keep their temperature higher, and also they basically never stop swimming.
Yeah, they just keep going.
Like you see some videos in the tropics, especially like hawksbill and green turtles. They'll kind of chill out and they'll, sleep on the bottom.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if they sleep on the bottom, but they hang out on the bottom.
They're chilling.
But the leatherback, on the other hand, never does, and due to like the friction of constantly swimming and moving its fins, that helps keep the temperature up too. So it's able to, even though, here's the crazy part, it's cold-blooded, right?
Yeah,
so
that's what I figured.
Producing like its own heat. Somehow it's still able to go and hunt in areas that are below freezing. So under 23 degrees,
it's still surviving.
Yeah.
How?
Because of that big mass that they have, the big size definitely helps them. Like the little tiny turtles would have no chance because they'd get frozen all the way through really quickly. And also because they're always moving.
Oh, so they just never have a chance to just cool down, I guess.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the friction of them. Yeah, so another thing is their, what do you call them? Their flippers are the biggest, not only just in general, like they're the biggest out of any turtle, but also even in proportion to their size. Like if you shrunk it down, it's still the biggest.
Oh,
they're
like
huge.
Really?
Yeah.
How big can these big old flippers get?
Ooh, I don't know that.
Oh.
I don't know exact footage on leatherback.
Considering they're around 6 feet long, I can imagine they're what, like around like half their length or so, I would assume.
Or more. Yeah.
So 3-4 feet, I would assume, easy.
Yeah.
Dude, that's a monster.
Yeah, and the wild thing is they go, like they don't have like one little home base. They'll go and lay their eggs down in the tropics in part of the year, and then they'll swim thousands of miles up the coast, go hunting and absolutely gorge themselves, particularly on jellyfish they like a lot.
That's what I've heard. That's like the snack of choice.
So they'll literally circle the entire ocean every year. Like they're just swimming constantly.
Can you imagine the first like scientists that found that out? They like put the tracker on there and they're like, they go all the way up here? Just like freaking out.
That would have been wild for sure.
Okay. I got one for you.
Okay.
Do you know what the smallest species of turtle is? Since you're so
Okay.
about the biggest ones.
So I tried to find this, and it was kind of hard. So I found some good candidates, but I think what is the actual smallest is the North American bog turtle. You can tell me if I'm wrong, but I saw that they were around like 3 to 4 inches tops. So that's definitely smaller than my hand.
Yeah.
That's a little tiny.
That's
turtle.
a little guy.
Yeah.
That's a turtle, not a tortoise, huh?
That's a turtle. Yeah.
So the one I found was a tortoise.
Okay.
So I mean, we'll touch on it a little bit later, but tortoise, all tortoises are turtles,
Right.
but not all turtles are tortoises.
Yes.
Makes sense when you talk about the facts.
What is the difference between the two?
Well, the smallest turtle it's
Go
a
ahead.
speckled padlopper tortoise.
Padlopper? How big?
The females, which are the biggest of the so females are usually larger in turtles and tortoise species.
Oh, interesting.
She gets about 4 inches long and about 5 ounces. That's a tiny. I think it's probably a tie between your turtle and that tortoise.
Yeah.
So turtles versus tortoises. Do you know the difference now after looking at these guys for so long?
I know generally, but I couldn't tell you the specifics. I know turtles are generally water dwelling. They spend most of their life in the water. And for example, sea turtles, once they're born, so they're born in the sand, and then they pretty much jet for the water straight away.
Oh yeah.
So the females will come back when they're of age, which could be for a lot of them, like green sea turtles, for example. They don't get sexually mature until they're 30 years old.
I mean, the turtles can afford to because they have such a long lifespan. They can wait that long.
Right. So they're cold-blooded. Their metabolism is really slow.
Yes.
And so they mature slowly. But the point is that females, even at that point, will come to land tops once a year.
Really?
It could be a couple weeks in between each time because they'll come in and they'll mate and then they'll lay their eggs up to a couple. It's called a clutch. Each time they come in and lay their eggs for each year, but sometimes they don't even do it every year. But that's going to be the full extent of their being on land.
Yeah.
Sea turtles. Most of their life is going to be out at sea, and even the males don't even do that. So once they jet out of their eggs into the ocean, that's it.
They're in the sea forever.
That's
till the end.
Till they die.
Wow.
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. You already touched on it about turtles only usually sticking to water.
Yeah.
That's the big thing that kind of steps tortoises about too much differently.
Yeah.
Is they can't swim at all. They would drown pretty easily, which is it is sad, but it's kind of funny to think that they're so closely related to something that's so at home in the water, and yet they can't swim.
Huh?
Yeah, at even a little bit, they can't swim a little bit.
It'd be weird if there was a cat version,
a cat
there was
turtle,
land cats and sea.
Oh,
cats.
and sea cats,
or sea dogs,
like a sea otter.
Cat seals.
What about a sea otter? I guess that would be a sea cat kind of.
That's kind of like a sea dog.
It's more like a sea weasel.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely sea weasel. We should do one on sea otters, or just otters in general.
I'm in.
Let's do that. Okay, that's a good one. We'll have to put that in the thing.
Noted.
The diet. That's what kind of steps them apart differently too.
Yeah.
Tortoises most of them are strictly vegetarian, which is funny to think since they're in deserts.
Yeah.
You would think
said tortoises?
Tortoises are strictly vegetarian. Yeah.
Well, with the speeds that they go at, it'd be hard to picture them doing any sort of
catching any.
Yeah. If anything can move at all, pretty much, I feel it'd be faster than a tortoise.
Unless it's another tortoise.
I hope there's no cannibal tortoises. That'd be a bad scene.
There might be cannibal turtles.
I can't say.
They eat. That's what the turtles are very opportunistic animals. They kind of just eat anything. So they will eat the grass, the worms, the fish. It's really gnarly.
I saw that for whatever reason, a lot of the turtles will start off primarily being meat eaters, and then as they get older, they transfer more and more into being pure vegetarians.
Oh, changes over lifetime, huh? Really?
Yeah.
I did see
They'll
that.
still eat meat if they get a chance, but like as a general rule, they transfer into being vegetarian.
That's so funny.
It's pretty strange.
I saw that when I was looking at the babies. They were saying like they're mostly protein based because they need all that like energy to keep growing and stuff. So
well, they need to grow really fast because
they do.
They're first born, they're so small and they basically have no defense. And they're so vulnerable.
Oh, yeah.
When they're born, their main defense when they're older is their hard shell. But when they're first born, it's not even as hard as it will be when they're older. So they're super defenseless.
It is sad. I mean, but that's they've.
So the point is that they do need to grow fast.
Oh yeah,
and grow that shell, so that they can keep going and live on their turtle life.
But I mean, they've kind of adapted to like having, like, kind of accounting for that loss of babies because they are so like defenseless.
Yeah.
They have so many eggs on average. Like on average, most of the species of turtles and tortoises have like tens of babies at a time in the clutch. It's crazy.
Yeah, and then they do that a couple times each time that they're breeding, which I saw was anywhere from 1 to 9 years depending on their species, and that's just for sea turtles.
Yeah, I saw some land turtles can actually like hold, like the female will hold the man's sperm for like up to a couple years.
Oh, whoa.
For like mating seasons and stuff. Like
for the perfect opportune time, and then
I think she can like keep refertilizing or something.
Oh wow.
Dude, turtles are a lot more weird than I thought they were.
Yeah, they are.
They kind of just look like lizards.
Getting deeper.
Yeah.
Do you know what the rarest turtle is?
The rarest? I do not.
The rarest. So I don't want to dwell on it too much, but almost all of them are at least endangered. They have a lot of different risk factors. One of the main ones being bycatch. They're caught in nets a lot because
they are.
There's no way they're going to escape that because they're so slow. Also fishermen catch them line and reel, but also pollution kills them and makes it harder for them to be able to have their eggs.
Yes.
When they're in the polluted water, the protein that's needed to form the outer shell of it can't form as well, so basically that clutch wouldn't work if they're in polluted waters. But also you have places where they're building on the beaches, and you could, for each species, it's not like they can just have babies anywhere. They have a few places that are only on the coastline.
Yeah.
For each species. So if you have somebody building in there, and then if you have the added pressure of hunting, it makes it tough for them.
It definitely does, and then I mean human factors always come in the way too. I was watching that documentary about the baby sea turtles getting confused and going towards the city during the nighttime when they just came out of their, like they had just hatched, and they learned to go towards the moonlight and the stars that reflect off the ocean.
Yeah.
But they see these city lights and they think it's that, and it's just sad. I mean it's a byproduct of us being here.
What did you ask me before that? I was going somewhere with that.
Yeah.
The rarest turtle.
The rarest turtle. That's right.
Okay, so there's a few different types. You have basically normal turtles. They're able to retract their head straight back into their shell. Okay, so that's one type. And also you have what are called side neck turtles, which have much longer necks. For example, like the snake neck turtle, where they can have a neck that's like as long as their body.
It's wild looking.
Yeah, can you imagine? What if your neck was as long as your body?
Dude, I could eat off anything. The top of trees?
Whatever's on top of the fridge, that's all yours.
Just lick it up. That's all me, man.
Okay, so those are the two types.
Yeah.
The side neck turtles are much more rare. There's less species of those, but the thing about them is there's one called the soft shell, I think I'm saying it right, the Yangtze turtle.
Okay. It's the Chinese river, right?
Yeah.
The Yangtze.
Yeah. So there's 3 left.
3?
3.
They're in captivity?
So they are in captivity. One of them is in a zoo. 2 are in private ponds. But it's possible that there's more.
Yeah.
You know Forrest Galante?
No. Forrest
Galante, he's like one of these Animal Planet guys. But he he has this show called Dead or Extinct.
Okay.
I think it's Dead or Extinct. But he went out there in habitat and he thinks he saw another one.
A fourth one?
Yeah. So.
Wow.
Okay, so that zoo initially had 4. They had a male and a female, and they had them together, and hopefully they were going to breed. But the female died.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
that was last year, 2019, the female died.
Oh, no. How come they hadn't bred yet? They were too young, or?
I think the opposite. They were both very old.
Oh.
Yeah.
Dude, it's hard. It's hard to hear like these. It's like people give them all the opportunity they can to like, try to introduce them. And it's hard.
Yeah, they just have a ton of different pressures on them.
Is that why there's so many? It's just like I know turtle soup is a very common like in a lot of Asian countries. They do eat a lot of soft shelled turtles, and actually in North America too.
What?
Yeah, it's a big thing to do soft shelled turtle soup for some reason.
What?
I feel
in
like
what state?
it's a lot of southern states because we a lot of like those like big swampy kind of areas. They have like those soft shelled turtles that kind of hide in that mud down there.
So, did you watch any Coyote Peterson in your research?
Of course I did. Yeah, he cut his chops in the animal catching biz, catching snapping turtles, which is no joke. Those guys are scary.
So that brings me to my next favorite. Now this one's out of the ocean. The alligator snapping turtle.
Into the swamp, dude. Those guys are the real life monsters. I think I had a monster book when I was a kid about like all these like mythical looking real animals, and the alligator snapping turtle was 100% in there.
It looks like an evil dragon.
It looks like it should have died millions of years ago, but it's still alive.
So, the alligator snapping turtle, I was looking at them, so they used to have a much bigger range. So they used to be all throughout the southern states, into Florida, then they were down through Mexico, and even into Central America. So they had a pretty wide range. And now they're just limited to a few of the southern United States.
Why such a change? Just human involvement, or?
You know, it's hard to say. I would guess that had a large factor on it. I know even now, people like them a lot for their meat. People eat them.
Again, with the people eating turtles, I feel like
Stop eating turtles, people.
They're too like delicate to be eating. Go eat a chicken. They grow on a farm. They're made to be eaten.
But yeah, so they grow, and so there's the common snapping turtle, but compared to that, the alligator snapping turtle is even bigger, and it has this tail on the back. We should pull up a picture.
Oh, yes, but that dragon-like tail.
As they get older, they have these spikes that get even more pronounced.
As they get older, really?
Yeah, it keeps getting bigger, and it just looks like a full-on dragon tail.
Dude, these look like a dragon with their shell, too, with those big... Oh. Looking at the pictures of how big they can get.
They are pretty massive.
Yeah, you can see this, yeah?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, if you can't see this, and you got to look it up. These big spikes on their back, they're monsters.
A bit like a Pokemon.
And they get to be about the size of an average sized man, but heavier.
I was looking, and I think the heaviest one I saw was 170 pounds, which is a pretty big snapping turtle.
I have an English Mastiff at home, and he's about that much, and he's a big ass dog. That's a huge turtle.
Yeah, you can imagine that could take out a finger pretty easily.
That could take a hand easy.
Yeah.
And you know how they do that in the wild with the little lasso kind of thing they have going on.
The lasso thing?
So they have not like a lasso. It's kind of like a lure. So they'll sit there.
In their mouth.
Yeah. They'll sit there at the bottom of the river.
Yeah.
Just laying there, like it looks like it's just a bunch of moss, and they're that coloring and that kind of camouflage they already have. So they sit there, and they have this little pink, like appendage that's attached to somewhere on their tongue, I believe.
It looked to me like it was on their tongue.
Yeah.
It was like sitting on the bottom of their jaw.
It's very strange, but somehow they can control that it like moves, and it looks like a worm. So the fish are very interested, and as soon as that poor little fish gets too close to that beak, he's gone.
They are quick too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you can imagine that. You've seen how murky the water is that they're sitting in. So even after a little while, if you have a little bit of the silt, and they get the moss actually growing on their back.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
They're just a part of their environment. They completely disappear.
Just an earth dragon.
It's weird that that same technology like pops up in completely different animals, like for the anglerfish, just for one example, how they have basically the same thing. They have a little lure right in front of their mouth, and then when something gets close, they snatch on it.
I mean, it makes sense.
It does.
It's just kind of like what.
I think they call it convergent evolution when they have like
similar.
Just finds something that works, and then it just happens to pop up in different places.
Yeah, it's kind of cool to see like similar creatures, even though they came from such different backgrounds.
Yeah, you know, it must have been weird for the ones that were just like, like now that feature is pretty like well defined and it worked for them.
Mm-hmm.
But you can imagine like early on, there's probably just a turtle and he had kind of a weird tongue.
Yeah.
And he's just sitting there with his mouth open, and all the other guys are like, "Man, it's the strangest thing. The fish just swim right into Jeff's mouth.
Just right into his mouth."
Can you believe that?
And all the ladies got Jeff because of that.
Yeah. I mean, Jeff was twice the size as all the other ones.
Oh, yeah. And he looked like a dragon, so I mean, that helps.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You seen his tail?
Yes. See those spikes? We kind of talked about it a little bit in the beginning, but do you want to really go over what makes a turtle a turtle? Like the anatomy of a turtle?
Oh yeah. We yeah. Go ahead, please.
So we talked about plastron on that belly, that kind of hard plate that they use to sit on and kind of like support their whole body. The carapace is that hard bony shell you talked about.
So they've both got that.
They both have that. Soft tail turtles are a little differently. They have that leather back. It kind of looks like it looks like they're part stingray or something.
Right.
And I was looking to see if there's like a shell, kind of like a cuttlefish kind of have like a shell on the inside, or like an octopus does.
Yeah.
They don't have that, so I think they must have somehow developed this.
Is it just cartilage for them?
I couldn't find if it's. I think they still have a bigger rib cage.
Yeah.
They still have that like big like flat rib cage like they did as a turtle, but for some reason it has like this thick leathery layer like skin on it instead.
Right. Yeah, I wonder, what sort of advantage that gives them in the wild.
So I saw that soft-shelled turtles are often a lot faster.
Oh, I can
because
see that.
they're so much smaller and they're lighter and skinnier, and they can kind of fit through different little so basically they're like the Ferrari of the turtle world, if you will.
I will.
Yeah, they're pretty quick. They're hard to catch. That's why they're such prized as that's why turtle soup is made from, I think, soft shell turtles, because they're so much harder to catch than.
Yeah, I bet it's easier to prep too.
Probably you can just slice them up or something.
Yeah.
Oh, poor little guys. Turtles can see about as good as we can. They can't see in the dark.
They can't see in the dark.
Not like, I mean, they can about as see in good of the dark as we can.
Huh.
Which I thought was interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I was seeing that, I mean, it must be tough for them, but back to the alligator snapping turtle, that they are actually more active at night. That's when they do more if they're hunting.
Really? I wonder if that specific species can see better at night.
I mean, it's very possible.
I just saw that it was just like in
As
general, like turtles or.
So wait. And then tortoises obviously they don't have the same sort of appendages. Instead of fins, they have it's more like they're walking on their knuckles,
Basically. So if you see like a river turtle, it kind of has it's like the middle ground in between a tortoise and like a sea turtle with a full flipper. It's kind of, it's still very foot-like, but it has claws and they're webbed feet, and they they look very like amphibious for what they are. I mean, they are reptiles, but it's an amphibious foot, but good for both foot, like sea and land.
Yeah.
But
so it's probably much wider than your average tortoises would be.
Yeah, 100%. But tortoises definitely kind of have that elephant-looking foot where it's just like a thud on the ground.
Right, exactly.
But I mean that's all they need, I guess. They don't need much.
So I mean, there's really not that much of a difference between the two.
They're very similar,
yeah. Behavioral is a little different. What they eat is a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Their appendages are a little bit different. But overall, they're pretty similar creatures, for sure.
It's more that they're like the same kind of animal in very different environments.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like nature found this nice package, and they're like, hey, this fits in every environment. They're like, we're going to put one here and here and
here.
We're
going to stick some over here.
In the desert, in the ocean.
We're going to put this one underwater. Oh, that one drowned.
Ooh. Okay, just those in the water then.
Okay, we'll put this one back on that.
Yeah. I mean, everyone. If you haven't seen a turtle, I suggest Googling some turtles. You'll have a great time. But I mean, they have a small retractable head. They have that iconic beak that kind of like chomps food.
Right.
Like they don't have teeth. The early turtle like ancestors actually had teeth.
So none of them have teeth.
I found that none that I could find
So
had
they
teeth.
basically just have the one like sharp jaw. And
Yeah.
they're able to chomp them between the two. The two jaws able to chew up their food.
So I guess they don't really need to chew. They just kind of bite that kind of bites that they need. Kind of like a shark would, or like I guess a snake. But snakes eat the whole thing.
No, snakes are different.
Yeah, snakes are different.
So I see they bite off smaller chunks and then just swallow it whole.
Yeah, they just bite off a little bite-sized piece.
I mean, that makes sense for what they're eating.
Yeah, they're mainly eating, especially tortoises too. They're mainly eating that vegetation. They need to do just like 1 or 2 leaves at a time.
Right.
You want to talk about the life cycle of a turtle or a tortoise?
Absolutely.
Let's start in the very beginning. What's mom doing?
Okay.
It's birthing time.
Before the beginning.
Oh, you want to start beginning.
I guess. Sure. Let's start from the beginning.
Okay.
The turtle is born.
The turtle is born as an egg. In the clutch with
No.
Oh.
The turtle is born out of the egg.
Oh, okay. Coming out of the egg. Boom.
Okay, so you're a turtle.
Yeah.
You're popping out. It's very dark, but you have just this strong urge to just keep digging. And you just keep going up.
Just keep getting out.
Eventually, you get outside, and most likely, it's either towards the end of the day or it's at nighttime. And hopefully, your parents have timed it correctly that you see the moon reflecting over the ocean. And hopefully, like you said, you're not having somebody that built their giant casino right behind you,
Yes.
and then you go the wrong way and then got run over by a car.
Yeah. Hopefully that doesn't happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you get out to the ocean. You're very small. Most of your brothers and sisters just got picked off by sharks and fish.
And birds and
coyotes. And foxes.
And raccoons.
And that guy Joe, the fisherman.
Oh, yeah. And that one person that just wanted a pet. And
so there was 1,000 of you born. There is 10 left. You made it out to sea.
It's getting about there, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so you guys made it to sea.
So you're eating very, very quickly. You're eating meats. If you can find it, you're out there eating jellyfish. Definitely.
It's the same thing for river turtles and other stuff like that. They're going for those tiny fish, those mollusks, those little lobsters, worms and whatever they can get.
That protein, they want to grow quickly, like we said, so we could get that shell built. So that's your protection. So you're growing as quickly as you can, and then things are going great. You settle into your own, and if you're out and you're a sea turtle, about, like I said, 30 years down the line, So this is the interesting part. Found that young turtles will often pick like a single area, and they'll live a lot of their life there. And it could be on, let's have a wild example. Let's say you are on the coast of South America, and that's where you've been spending your time.
Yeah.
You suddenly have this urge to swim out to an island in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. So you get out there, and all of a sudden, you see another beautiful turtle.
Wow, look at that shell.
This is a true story. So they go out to this one island. I wish I could remember what it's called, but it's a speck. I mean, picture Hawaii's twin, but in the Atlantic Ocean.
Okay.
It's a speck.
Just
in the middle of the ocean.
Just not near nothing.
And somehow they're able to swim out, and they just know where it is after living somewhere else for 30 years. Okay?
That is insane.
It's okay.
Go on.
So, they get out there, and then they end up having basically their own children, their own baby turtles. So
they lay them out.
They go in, they do their mating, and then within a couple of weeks, they'll come in and lay them. So they'll crawl up. They're really bad for being on land. They look so awkward. But what they do is the females will come up, often together, and they'll begin digging as big as holes they can.
Yeah.
Which is, again, so awkward.
With flippers.
Yeah.
No claws, no nothing.
So they're digging with their flippers. They come and they lay their eggs in there, and then they bury it and they're off. And that's it for Mom.
Yeah. So that kind of brings us back. You know how many like eggs they actually lay per like batch?
I saw that it depended definitely on the species of turtle, but something like the tens.
So yeah, so it really depends. Apparently tortoises are 2 to 12 eggs. But you like your average like little like red slider or something like that, Texas slider turtle.
Yeah.
5 to 100 can be depending on the species.
Right.
But then you go all the way to your hawksbill, that big mamma jamma.
Right.
200 eggs.
That's a lot of eggs.
Per batch.
You ever
That's
seen a
no
baby
joke.
turtle?
They're so cute.
They're so cute.
We went to that reptile show a while ago down in downtown San Diego.
Right.
I was very hard pressed to not purchase a baby tortoise.
You know what the crazy thing is? Okay, so what did you say was the smallest tortoise?
It was that speckled poblano or something like that. Yeah.
So let's say the speckled poblano.
Padlopper.
Padlopper. Okay, let's say the speckled padlopper gets to 4 inches tops.
Mm-hmm.
How big are their babies?
Oh gosh, their babies
They must
be like
the size of my pinky nail. Tiny.
They must be like ants must eat them or something. Like when they come out, they must be. I didn't look up what a baby speckled padlopper looked like, but
We'll do that later.
That's a Google save for later. You want to go back to kind of how turtles started evolving?
Let's do it.
So I remember way back I kind of talked about that grandfather turtle.
Right.
So that was 240 million years ago.
Okay.
Fast forward 210 million years ago.
Right.
That was a pat, just a little bit away.
Yeah.
They found found a lot of early turtle like fossils in Germany for some reason. I believe Germany used to be a big swamp like millions of years ago.
Okay.
But this is the Protogankelus or early shell, so a 3-foot turtle or so.
Okay.
But
That's pretty big.
yeah, it was pretty big for
Big turtle, yeah.
But this one was crazy. They found the whole turtle, like the whole shell intact and most of the bones. But they kind of noticed that one of those big like iconic things that makes a turtle is that like retracting neck. This one didn't have that, and it was a 3-foot turtle.
So it had a fixed neck.
It was fixed, yeah.
Interesting.
So it looked more like a lizard with a shell.
Interesting.
Yeah, but it was very, very swamp-like.
Did it have the fully fused shell at that point?
It did at the top, and yeah, that kind of that bottom belly plate was still there. Yeah.
Okay.
That first one I was talking about, the grandfather turtle, was where they first started like seeing those
just had,
ribs.
Like,
just the bottom, not the top yet, which is interesting.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why it started developing that though.
Interesting.
And then they kind of they fast forward for marine turtles. It took them a while to get to, so the turtles were around for a little while before they went into the ocean.
Yeah.
I saw around 120 million years ago or so. They called it was the Desmantocheles padali. It was a 2,000-pound turtle, around 6 feet.
Whoa.
6 feet long. It was about as big as a leatherback, but it was a hard shell turtle.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so you can imagine a big ass hard shell turtle.
Wow.
That's a big man. But yeah, and then that kind of that was the last like one of the biggest turtles that lived. That they just kind of they're just back to what they have now.
So did that turn into something else, or?
I think that one died off, and the leatherback took the prize as the biggest. Yeah. What else do I have?
So after that, they probably spread out. So would that be their place of origin then? I guess is that known? Because I remember reading that there was also, in the similar time period, they were also in Asia as well. So they had spread out that far at least.
They had been around. I know they weren't just in Germany. This is just where they found the first ones.
Right.
But yeah, turtles have been around.
We should say that they're all over the world.
They are. I believe they're on almost every continent except for
Antarctica, I think.
Antarctica, yeah. But I mean that counts for a lot of animals.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're everywhere.
Oh, I got one more thing.
Okay.
Butt breathing.
Butt breathing. I wanted to talk about this.
This was one of my favorite facts that I found, and I'm kind of bummed out I didn't know it up till this point.
Well, so everyone has seen Frozen 2, hopefully by now. So, okay. Spoiler alert. Olaf is talking about, he like has some facts or whatever, and he talks about how turtles can breathe through their butts or whatever, and it's like a big fact that everyone was talking about online for a long time.
Wait, why is Olaf the snowman talking about
he was just
reptilian butt breathing?
Because they're going on a road trip and he's just like talking about random butt facts. Not butt facts, just facts. Just facts, not butt facts. That's my road trips, not his.
Noted.
Yeah. But yeah, do you want to talk about the kind of caveat to turtles breathing out of their butt?
I don't know what it is. You tell.
You don't know?
I might.
Okay, so not all species can do it. A lot can, but not all.
I thought that all of the water-dwelling species could.
I heard that a lot of them can, but I think some of the river turtles can't. Like some of your little guys that you might not think of, I don't think can.
Okay.
It's not really breathing per se. It's actually like they're diffusing oxygen from the water, which I guess is technically.
What's the difference then?
Well,
because isn't that what?
Because they still breathe oxygen.
Right.
They're not taking 100% of their air from the water.
I saw they could get about 70% capacity just through that method.
I think they can when some of them hibernate underwater.
Right.
And they can do that. They can hibernate just on the butt breathing.
That's what enables them to be underneath the water for months at a time.
Yeah. And so they're breathing out of their butt, which is not technically, what kind of is their butt? Their cloaca?
Yes. We should say it's technically called cloacal respiration. Yeah.
If you want to, I like or a bum breathing. I saw was my favorite one. Good little British in there. The cloaca is it's kind of a multi-purpose tool. I like to call it the poop and pee and baby making hole.
Yes.
It kind of does it all.
Mm-hmm. What can't the cloaca do?
On a turtle, not much. That's kind of all it does.
And breathe. You forgot that.
It does breathe.
Yeah.
With a caveat.
Yeah.
Because turtles can also breathe their lungs, I guess.
Yeah, so that was something I saw. I had never even considered this, but in the northern states and up through Canada, there's all of these areas that has, swamps, and they have their lakes and their ponds, and in the winter months they completely freeze over.
Uh-huh.
And I guess I had never really considered where do the turtles go.
I wondered that. I always thought they just found like a burrow somewhere, but I guess they do. They find a spot to hide, but I didn't realize that they stand underwater.
Some of them stay underwater, yeah. And they're able to do that because they're able to breathe through their cloaca. They're able to take in oxygen and give off carbon dioxide, just like we do. But also they slow their heart rate, and they're basically not doing much of anything.
Their heart rates aren't fast in general, too. Right. Everything about the turtles is fairly slow, fairly slow. Especially their metabolism.
Yep. But they're able to even, so hibernation doesn't even give the full picture. Like, they're under there, they're technically breathing, and they're able to still move around and swim and check stuff out. I don't think they're doing much hunting, just because of the amount of, caloric, how much energy that would take for them.
I think they're mostly in kind of like an autopilot when they're doing that kind of hibernation. Because I've seen tortoises in the hibernation, but they don't move at all.
Tortoises go full asleep.
They're just like, they're a side table. That's what most people use them for when they're sleeping. It's just a shell on the ground until they come back.
That's hilarious. Yeah, my uncle has a few of them, and it's funny, if it's a warm and mild winter, they're like, you know what? It's not so bad. I'll stay up this year.
They'll just decide not to sleep?
Yeah. Yeah.
They live in San Diego. Wouldn't they just always be awake?
No. Some of them still, and even some years, I wish I remember it. It's some sort of desert tortoise that it was an escaped one.
Oh.
So in Pacific Beach, they found him running down the street as fast as his little tortoise legs could take him.
What a little rascal. Do you hear about that one Chinese turtle they found that can pee out of its mouth?
I did, actually.
Well, pee. It kind of like oozes urine out of its like mouth area.
So,
like its head.
Okay, so that was a freshwater turtle, right?
Yeah, another, I believe another soft shell.
So I heard that the freshwater turtles are basically peeing almost constantly.
Constantly peeing?
Yep, because they have to regulate the salts that are within their body, and because
Huh.
of since they're in fresh water, that basically means they just have to be constantly peeing. So
Huh.
I was watching a couple of pet videos, and they said if you pick up your turtle, chances are you're gonna get peed on.
I've seen. Oh, so I was wondering. That was a big common question. I was looking at pet turtles.
Oh yeah.
Why? Because this was so interesting. This made me want to have a pet turtle. I mean, or
I
a
think
tortoise.
I'd rather get a pet tortoise.
I would rather have a tortoise just because they, especially some of the species, are just such low maintenance. But yeah, I have seen that, like,
Yeah.
picking them up, it just shot, like, they just pee.
Yeah.
But I guess that's because of that.
Yeah, I mean, it would be pretty cool to just have a tortoise cruising around your backyard, and sometimes you throw some lettuce out there. But
Yeah.
Pretty much it.
Then they don't eat a lot too.
They're pretty wily though. I've
really?
been over and people will have basically they'll have to like some dogs that are crazy diggers.
Yeah.
At your fence line, you have to go like an additional couple feet down because some of these are burrowers.
Oh, so they'll just sit there and dig all day?
They'll dig and they'll get out of there.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Escaped tortoises, watch out.
I would definitely want one that is tiny.
Tiny, I would want the opposite.
You would want a giant one?
I would want a huge tortoise.
But they live forever. They live so long.
Yeah, it's like an heirloom, you pass it on someday.
Actually, do you know why they live so long? It's
Not
kind of
specifically, no.
it's
Please
like
don't.
it's neither does science technically. It's kind of a combo.
Okay.
They have a lot of like very very educated guesses,
Well,
which is all science is basically.
they have basically. I know they're cold-blooded.
Yeah.
So in general, cold-blooded animals have a tendency to live a pretty long life.
Mm-hmm.
Their heart rate is pretty slow. Their metabolism is very slow.
That's a big one.
So all of those, lend themselves to living a longer life. But what else? What would?
Growing slow.
Okay.
So apparently the fact that they grow slow helps their aging process, so they don't age like birds and mammals do. They somehow age differently. I tried to look further into that. I didn't know what they meant by it ages differently.
Interesting.
It must just like have less wear and tear on the body.
Interesting.
Kind of like lobsters, you hear about like if they're in like a perfect condition, they could live forever or something like that.
Million-year-old lobster.
Million year.
Wow.
Need some nice butter.
So,
Reproduction also.
that makes sense. If you're going to have a longer life, it's going to give you more chances to reproduce.
Yeah.
More chances for your species to go on. More chances for those longer-lived turtles to keep making more. So that makes sense.
Yeah, that's kind of talking like I was talking about that one earlier that can hold on to like the male sperm for like I forget how many, like 5. I think it was 5 months. Long time.
What that reminds me of is how cephalopods do the same thing.
Yeah, theirs is different though. They have that
So-
little pod, don't they?
Right, so it's like a little sack that the male gives to the female, and she takes it. She's like, "Thank you very much. I'm saving this for later." And then when she feels like it, she can fertilize her eggs, and then they basically watch them until they die. That's for octopus specifically.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about squids.
I'm not sure about squids either. I think
Squids seem
they
kind of mean.
maintain. They're definitely mean. They're scary.
They're way meaner than
They're
octopus.
they're so scary. I would be so scared if I saw a big squid in the water. You said that, and it reminded me something about one of the turtles. But my final fact about why they live so long is their lifestyle. This was hilarious.
All right, let it on me.
Basically, so the Galapagos giant tortoise.
Yeah.
The reason it's one of the longest living turtles, and the reason is because of its lifestyle. It lives on a tropical island, and that's literally
It's just chilling out.
that's literally what it was like a Smithsonian paper. I think it was
my
said.
goodness.
Their lifestyle is they have a carefree, healthy. They eat a healthy lifestyle, and because they have a lot of vegetation, they have a lot of plants and fruits
Listen,
and
man,
veggies, and
they eat their greens. They work out.
they're
They
chilling.
relax.
They sex.
Absolutely. These are all key things, and I think they got their
Uh,
priorities in order.
On an island. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that.
It really doesn't.
Who wouldn't want to live forever?
I mean, if that's your life.
If that's what you got to look forward to,
Yeah.
then that's it. So do you have anything else, Brennan?
Okay, so there's one thing, and I'm gonna need you to look this one up. But
Okay.
that guy Forrest Galante on his show Dead or Alive, he found a tortoise that was thought to be extinct for I believe it was 100. It was either 130 or 180 years, and he found one.
How did he find it?
It was on this island, and you're gonna have to tell me which one. But he said it was in this volcanic area, and it was dehydrated and malnourished because it was stuck in this small area and it wasn't able to properly feed itself. But I mean, imagine that.
Was it in the Galapagos?
It might have been.
Huh. I can't find. I'm finding like articles about him, but
Extinct turtle.
yeah, it was a 113-year-old. So tortoise thought to be extinct for 113 years.
Yeah.
Forrest Galante found.
I mean, that's pretty awesome.
That's amazing.
I mean, for all the stuff that oh, so that species is going to be extinct. There's still stuff to be excited about for sure.
Yeah.
You know what made me think about whenever I'm looking at this stuff, I'm like, you can, if you have like the will to do it, you can like learn anything. It's all on the internet.
Potentially, yes, and yeah. I mean, if it's not on the internet, you can pay for it to be on the internet.
Conspiracies and like aliens and stuff, you can learn anything on the internet.
There's a lot of files that are not on the common web. So the dark web apparently is the dark web is apparently not all that bad, which I learned was interesting. I thought it was like all like he's selling like human tongues and all this crazy stuff, but like. Apparently the dark web has a lot of websites that aren't. So apparently Twitter was currently technically on the dark web for a long time because it didn't have a official website or something like that, or
it's twitter.com.
Yeah, there was some loophole or something. It was technically in the dark web, but there's a lot of websites like that would never come up on Google.
So how do you just have to know it?
You would have to somehow search through the dark web to find it or something like that.
Interesting.
But like, there's a lot of other knowledge out there. That's what I don't know. That's a different thing now.
What else I was thinking is that this is just a random thought.
Yeah.
But I was looking at Google Maps, looking at the globe. It's like the history of everything that has ever happened on the Earth. You could pull up that spot on Google Maps.
Wait, what? Really?
Well, I mean, yeah, think about it. Unless you're talking like prehistoric, when, the continents had moved and you're looking at Pangea.
Okay.
But yeah, everything in modern history, you could be like, yeah, this happened in this spot. I mean, you'd have to know where it was, but like...
But you could pull up a picture of it where it was.
That was like that happened here. Anything. Ever.
That's pretty crazy. That's quite the shower thought, Brennan.
But as far as turtles, man, that's all I got. They are awesome. They are all over the world. I want one.
I want one too.
Yeah.
So if you want one, did you know that they could recognize individual humans?
That's really endearing.
That's so cute. That they're like, that's my daddy right there. You're just hey, little buddy. I'm not sure how they know that. I mean, that's the same thing. Like they say, dogs actually have emotions, but like, how did they know that? But like, I don't know. I'm not a dog neuroscientist.
Yeah, but I mean, you come home, you see your dog. I mean, it's pretty easy to tell.
I guess turtles you can tell too.
Dogs in love.
And apparently, you can train turtles.
To do what?
They can be potty trained, and they can learn like cues. So like, you can be like, this red thing means to come here. Like, and I will feed you. Yeah, or it'll be like this. Like this lady was doing, like she had like some rare like soft shell turtle in an aquarium.
Yeah.
And she had like, it was just a ping pong ball on a stick, and she would put that at the bottom of the tank with food next to it, and then eventually.
Wait, how would the ping pong ball get to the bottom?
It had like holes in it.
Trash.
Yeah, but like it was pink, so like she would like put the pink, and then eventually she would put the pink ball at the top, and like closer and closer, and then eventually she was at the top, and it would come to the top and come to the ball because it thought it'd be fed then, and then so she can expect it and stuff. But like it can be trained to do that.
Makes sense. I've had
that's pretty crazy.
Betta fish, and I think they're smarter than most people think they are.
They definitely are.
Like if you come into the room, they'll definitely swim towards you, and they recognize people too. Like I don't know if there's any scientific backing for this, but for example, it was my brother's fish, so I'd come in the room, he'd like swim over, be like, oh, all right, it's just you. My brother swim in, he'd be like, all right, well, let's get fed.
Why? Oh yeah, because your brother feeds him.
You can definitely tell, yeah.
That's so funny. He gets so stoked to see
And
his brother.
That's just a betta fish. And I'm pretty sure that most turtles and tortoises are smarter than betta fish.
They're actually apparently very smart.
Which ones?
Turtles and tortoises.
Yeah,
I can't imagine beta fish are that smart, but.
Yeah, they recognize people.
You say betta fish? Is it betta or beta?
I don't know.
I've always heard beta, but betta is interesting.
I don't know.
That's a new one for me. Apparently, they can learn routines.
Like what kinds?
I guess like if they're in an aquarium, they can like learn the feeding routine or something like that.
Oh, I was thinking more like a show routine.
Oh yeah, you'll eat that too. They like hello my lady, hello my ragtime girl. Oh yeah, that's right. Silly me. Okay, I got one more thing that's gonna scare you. Everyone at home, if you are the horrible person and you want to be scared, look up what the inside of a sea turtle's mouth looks like.
Oh no! Look up what the inside of a leatherback turtle looks like.
Is that what this is?
That is.
Yeah.
So they have spines that are facing. It's like, you know those fishing lures, and they have all of the
all of the hooks.
That's exactly what it looks like, but pointing down. So as soon as because they don't have teeth to chew stuff up, so as soon as they catch stuff, it tries to come back out. It's just gonna get snagged.
Yeah, so they have that's a wriggly fish or a jellyfish or something. Because jellyfish are not grippy at all. So how would you do that? And this is a perfect way to do that. It's just it looks like it's nightmare fuel. It's so scary.
If you were eaten by that would be pure terror.
It's a good, and I didn't know sea turtles could they're ripping up, but they're just opening this turtle's mouth, but it looks like it's way wider. But it's just that's how they can open that wide.
Yeah,
that's just weird.
Another reason why leatherbacks are the best. Also, they're the deepest diving turtle.
How deep?
I saw as deep as 4,000 feet. That's the better part of a mile.
Why? Just for food or something, or just for fun, or
for hunting? And I saw that primarily their daily habit is they're going to be further down at night, and then they're going to be closer to the surface, which kind of matches the habits of what squid do, and also sometimes jellyfish.
Oh, so it's kind of tracking the food.
I didn't see that directly correlated, but I think that's what's happening there.
Yeah, oh, you were talking about sea turtles earlier. Green sea turtles are different because they're vegetarians.
They're pure vegetarians?
That's what I saw. Or they will eat mostly vegetarian diet.
Yeah.
Which is weird for a sea turtle.
Yeah, well, they're just living that tropical island lifestyle.
They are.
That's probably why they live so long.
You gotta love turtles. They're
150 years and still young.
Still young! Well, you got anything else, my man?
I think that's it, dude.
Well, dang, dude. That's number 2 down.
Yeah. Take care of your oceans. Your turtles will thank you.
Don't pollute. When you go to Starbucks, be a nice little girl and don't use straws. Use a paper straw.
Well, California doesn't let you anyways. So.
Yeah, well, if you're living in Potonka nowhere, yeah.
All right, man. Over and out.
Over and out, rainbow trout.